Number 1. So, this might be important for later. I myself am not religious, but very few people know this. I actually hide my lack of faith from my parents, which, since I have a license now, means I get to drive my mother to church every Sunday night. Also, important to note, while many of my friends themselves are religious, only one of them carpools with me every Sunday night. Because I'm driving and it's a waste of time to turn the car off and then back on in a minute, my mother gets out and goes to his door to retrieve him. Since I won't be referring to anybody but the one friend, I won't name him. This means my mother will go into his house and talk to his mother for 5 minutes because she's an old woman and old women in my town gossip constantly. So, keep in mind this whole event started a block from my house 3 weeks ago and has steadily gotten worse. I pulled up to a corner that leads onto the busiest street in my town. Being the newer driver I am, I look at every mirror before pulling out. I looked into my rearview mirror and saw a blue Lexus with tinted windows. It's nighttime, like full-on dark. I could tell the windows were tinted because somebody had a phone on in the car, and all I saw through the window was a blurry purplish light. That's not weird, just somebody with a nice car and a sense of privacy. My friend lives 12 minutes away across town from me. His house is maybe 4 blocks from Wendy's, which is a block from our theater, the only working movie theater for several towns. At that time, the road was under heavy construction, leaving multiple strange bumps in the road. That's just world building for the situation. I arrive at my friend's house and park next to the curb. My mother gets out, and after 4 minutes, I pull the car into park, lock the doors, and shut off the engine. I know my mother. She had 30 minutes before church, and she was talking. I laid my chair back and rested, waiting. It was 10 minutes in that I looked at the other side of the street and saw that same blue Lexus with the purple tinted windows. It looked like the phone was on. It was bright enough that it probably could have been pointed at me. That alone is weird, but not worrying to the average Joe. I, however, am one paranoid person, and that disturbed me. I don't often have the occasion to listen to my gut, but the few times I have, it always paid off. I kept my eyes on that Lexus for 2 minutes. About then, my mother walked out, and it started up and pulled out, vanishing into the darkness of the only unlit street in that area. I tried to ignore it, thinking maybe I cut somebody off, or a neighbor was watching me to make sure I wasn't a criminal. That didn't last long. That night after church, I woke up to see flashlights outside my window. My dad is retired military, an active-duty extradition officer for the local SO, so all our windows have thick curtains that completely cover them. The only reason I know exactly what flashlights look like on my curtains is from the time some cops investigated a break-in next door several years ago. So, seeing that scared me, and instantly brought back memories of that car. It's just like the human mind to bring up creepy experiences and link them when they happen close together. Now keep in mind I have sleep apnea, meaning I stop breathing in my sleep. I need a CPAP to manage that. Not only am I a heavy sleeper, but I got a semi-loud machine to drown out the creaks and wind at night. Me waking up in the middle of the night is extremely rare, so is seeing flashlights outside. I haven't seen lights outside my windows in years, aside from then, and the last times were the cop incident and me ding-dong ditching. This time felt sinister, to a point where I actually got up and grabbed an axe I have from camping. I don't take chances. I slept with that axe against my bed that night, and didn't once get more than 3 minutes of sleep. But now it's worse. The flashlights happened bi-nightly, and the Lexus has started showing up at random times. For instance, I go to college, but I only have one class right now, and it's from 6 to 8 p.m. on Tuesdays. Sure, some people at my college have Lexuses, but fewer are blue, and even fewer have tinted windows. Stepping out the side campus doors late at night to see that blue Lexus pulling slowly through the parking lot, with that accursed phone light inside, is not something you want to experience. It all came to a head when I heard my biggest dog, who is in my room right now sleeping by the door, go absolutely ballistic in our backyard. Running out there, I saw somebody in dark clothes fumbling with the broken door to our rundown shed. I yelled at him, and he turned and vanished up the side of our fence. My big dog ran crazy once I let him off his chain. For note, we don't often keep him chained up. We were getting yard work done later, and it was the middle of the day. Our dog obviously has the ability to jump our 5-foot fence. He just stays in because this house is where his home and food is. I remember my dog bounding over the fence, to which I quickly put my shoes on and followed, pulling my phone out to call the police. It didn't take long to find the dude at the end of the alley, our dog on top of him. He wasn't injured, at least not badly, but even after calling my dog off him, I kept him pinned while explaining to the operator what was happening. Not long after, a small crowd of neighbors had gathered, and the police showed up. He was successfully ID'd as a local who had a record for both stalking and breaking and entering. So, the guy with the admittedly nice blue Lexus, let's not meet again. Number 2. This story takes place in 2001. I was a French 11-year-old girl walking home after a long day of school and sport practice. I was in the first year of middle school and doing gymnastic class after school 2 times a week. It was one of those winter nights, probably in November, because I remember I was walking winter break with Eager, and around 6:30 to 7 p.m., so the dark was showing up really fast. So, here I was, exhausted with the gym practice and with the big day of school before that, walking home, minding my own business. Remember that it was 2001, cell phones were rare for adults, even more for kids. I think maybe 2 of my classmates had one, and at this time it was a big fuss. Obviously I didn't have one, neither a beeper or anything to call for help immediately. I didn't have an MP3 player either. This was my gift for Christmas of this year, so not long after. So, no way to cut myself out of the world during my home walk. No way in hell for a well-behaved girl like me to disobey to an adult who was giving order at this time, either. So, when this man called me, I immediately turned myself towards him. Without giving me the chance of speaking, he started talking, for what seemed to me a long time. Basically, he told me that he was lost. After I thought, in a small rural town that was very odd, that some friend of him waited for him in the front of a church, and that the church was very far away and he was late, and what was the fastest way to go to the church, and so on. I don't remember precisely what he was saying, but I bloody remember 3 things. First, he was little, around my height, and fat. So at first I wasn't scared. I thought he was around 20 years old, but when he approached me, I saw that he was probably in his 30s, maybe even older. Second, he talked a lot for someone who was calling for help. I mean, just an "excuse me, can you tell me how to get to the church, please?" was enough in that case. So, I wasn't scared, but something seemed off. My mom told me a long time ago about my internal alarm. It was never wrong, even if it was in front of an adult, and that I had to trust my gut in any case, and basically run away from anyone who seemed suspicious to me. So, I thought it was odd, but at first I wasn't really suspicious. Okay, he's lost. Poor man. Seems weird, nothing more. But third, I was exhausted, hungry, and wanted to go home as soon as possible. So, I did something that I think is pretty stupid now, but that I thought was a brilliant idea back then. I faked a crappy English accent. Again, I'm French, and said something like, "Sorry, me cannot help you, me not in France for long," and tried to get away from him. Please don't judge me, I was young, I was tired, and I was a little bit pissed off. And that's when my gut started to tell me that something is very, very wrong with this man. He was lost, and he was in a hurry, and he started to talk to me about France like we were making conversation, like, "Oh, and do you like it here? Where do you come from? Where do you live now? How old are you? Is this teacher nice? And do you do sports? Oh, gymnastics. That's why you're so pretty. I knew it. You have the body for it." And so on. Wait, he's not from here, and he knows my school? And a teacher at that school? Not mine, but still, Today I know that a 30-year-old man telling an 11-year-old schoolgirl, your body is pretty, is messed up, But I was here, lying about me when I answered to him, feeling guilty about it, but not enough to tell him to leave me, and trying to answer him with the less words possible. Faking an accent as an 11-year-old girl is a hard thing, I tell you. After a while, he takes my arm and asks me to come with him. You'll show me to the church, and we can talk more there. I really like you, you know. I freeze. My guts are screaming, get the fuck out of here. Go home. Red code. Not safe, not safe, not safe. But my mind is screaming even harder. You lied to him. You're in trouble now, and that's your fault. Stupid you. Try to go home without being impolite. That's so rude. So, I do what any 11-year-old would do, I guess. I said, always in this crappy accent, sorry, Mom, wait for me. Must go home now. I tried to get away from his grip, and I failed. Okay, so at first I was annoyed. When he was talking, I was disturbed, and now I'm scared. I remember clearly that I thought, I'm in danger for real. That's not a game. That's for real. And then he tries to kiss me. I can't really thank him for that, but that's when I had the real living proof that I was right about him. That something was very, very wrong with this man. And that I had the right to go away without being impolite, because going away as fast as I can was probably the best way to go home safe in the first place. I pushed him, hard enough for him to let me go, not fast enough for him to try to French kiss me. He let me go. I wiped my lips with my hand, and I mumbled something like, sorry, must go. Then I ran the fuck out of him, like I should have in the first place. I went home, a little bit late, but not late enough for my parents to start worrying about me. They saw me running down the alley, enter the home like the devil was behind me, which was maybe the case. They asked me if I was all right, and I told them I was. I showered, ate, went to sleep, returned to school the next day after, and to practice after that. I was scared to go home alone first, so I managed to get some rides back by some friends' parents. Sometimes I had to walk, and I was scared, but I never saw him again after that, so the fear slowly disappeared. I know bloody well why I didn't talk to my parents that night. I was feeling guilty and stupid because of the French accent, because I answered him, because I must have done something wrong during this encounter. Today, I know it wasn't my fault, but I was a child. So, creepy man who tried to kiss me, let's not meet again. Number 3. My sister and I walked to the movie theater the other night. It was a discount Tuesday kind of deal at a theater that most forget about, as it isn't up to date as the others. My sister was in town visiting, and we chose to walk because we can. Only a 15-minute walk. When we got there, the line for the tickets was really long, so I had her go in and get in line for popcorn while I waited for the tickets. Per usual, I was chatty to those around me, and I talked to others about what the movie we were seeing. How we walked there and how warm I was, but I can't complain with how it was such a beautiful day, etc. I'm a shy person, but with strangers I am not. If I'm not going to see that person again, I am lifted from that, it seems. The theater was rather sparse during the showing. We were seated on the right side, anyone there chose the center area, with no one in front or in back of us. Shortly after the movie started, a man came walking from around the theater, as if trying to remember where he was seated. He walked up close to me, drink in hand, looking closely at me. I figured he was just trying to see if his group or date or whatever. The theater was dark, and because of his drink with napkins in hand, I figured he was a little late and couldn't see where his group chose to sit. He then walked on and left the theater. I decided he must have chosen the wrong movie altogether. I didn't think much of it and continued to watch the movie. I kind of get into my own little world of the movies. My father goes to them to escape today, and I think I'm similar. A break in reality. However, not more than 10 minutes later, he returned. He went around the room just as before, entering from afar. I can't help but notice these things, as it is always disconcerting to me. Is usually a staff member checking exits for our safety. That reminder doesn't typically put me at ease, though. It reminds me of what could be and what has happened in the past. But this man wasn't staff. He came around again, no drink this time, and sat directly behind us. At this point, I knew someone was sitting behind us, but didn't care to make a connection, as I was focused on the movie. About 10 minutes later, the man left. The movie continued, and I was enjoying it. My sister seemed at unease, however. She's always nervous about things, and not very trusting of people. I could tell she was distracted. I thought she was being anxious of me because I was playing with my hair. She hates that I do it. Some 30 minutes later, the man returned. Again, coming in from the far side of the theater, so you see him as he walks along. This time, he came around the corner and walked right up to me, crouched down in front of me, and just looked at me. I thought he was going to whisper something to me, as he was that close. Instead, he continued on after and left the theater. I was still kind of indifferent and casually mentioned that it was weird for him to do that. My sister was upset, so I suggested we move to another seat. We moved to the middle of the theater, very close up to the front, and as most middle seats were taken, I was ready to resume the movie, but my sister couldn't focus. I found it difficult as well, as we were so close to the screen. She then explained her concern about him, that she had a weird feeling about him and felt unsafe. She said that when he was behind us, he was leaning forward in his chair, which made my sister feel the need to lean forward as well to get space, to get away from him. I hadn't realized how imposing he was behind us. Her description of his behavior, along with how I felt after thinking about it, was an awakening. Why was he continuing to leave and come back? Why the stares? Why would he think of us if he moved seats? We went to the front desk to alert them of this mysterious man and his actions. I was getting shaky after recounting it, something I wasn't expecting. We were given passes to another movie, a credit, but first we needed to return to the theater to grab our bags. We went back in with an escort, and I felt like I was leaving the theater with a knowledge/feeling that should be shared. What if something bad happened? I've never been more creeped out. We walked home uneasily. My sister continued to look behind us until we got home. I knew we were fine because we left the movie early, and he wasn't in the lobby to see us. But what if we stayed at the end? Was he getting a good picture for when we left the theater? Did he know that we walked there alone? I had talked to strangers without caring. I now want to go to a movie again and be able to walk there and back without concern. The theater staff recommended I carry pepper spray. Not what I'm used to, growing up in the safety of a smaller town in Minnesota. I'm angry with this man for tarnishing my experience. I have a free pass to go to a movie and to make up for it in the future, but I can't help but think of him. Will he be there? All I can hope for is that we don't meet again.